Well, welcome. Welcome to Agri Challenge Academy, the very first lecture of soil chemistry. Very well, students. In this for coming lectures, not only today and coming lectures also, we are going to cover these are the topics we are going to cover. What are those? Soil colloids and types. We will discuss what are the soil colloids and their types, and silicate clays. We will see what is a silicate clays, and we will see something about basic structure of silicate clays. Yes, we will see, and types of crystalline silicate clays are there. So how many types are there? What are the conditions are there? We will discuss, and X-ray diffraction analysis. Actually, this X-ray diffraction analysis will not cover in this lecture. We will cover in this lecture in for further coming lectures. So further coming classes, we are going to check about this X-ray diffraction analysis. So these are the concepts, these are the core concepts which are going to deal in the soil chemistry. So remember, student, soil chemistry is very important part in our soil science because it will somewhat link it to the soil fertility. Sometimes it links to the physics also, physical properties also. So be thorough and be strong in the basics. Now let's come to the topic. Yeah, very first, students, what is soil colloid? Colloids is it is a two-phase system. It's a two-phase system. One phase is dispersion medium and dispersion phase. Where in dispersion phase will be there, one particle will be suspended in dispersion medium. For example, solid in liquid. So clay in water. So clay in water. So water is a dispersion medium. Clay is a dispersion phase, right? If I'm right. So these are the things. So these are two phase medium only. Colloids are two phase type. There are two types of phases will be there. One is called the dispersion phase and one is the dispersion medium. So what is the dispersion medium? Clay is a dispersion phase. So like this and clouds and liquid in gas. So gas is a dispersion medium. Liquid is that example clouds. Cloud in the atmosphere. These are the best example for the colloids. So what is the property, students? Colloid science. Colloid structure is very less than. It is less than 2 micrometers. Very less than. So whichever the particle has a 2 less than 2 micrometers are called the soil colloids. But when we coming to the clay particles, even we will consider clay as a colloidal nature because of its size. It will be considered as a colloidal particle. So that's why includes the clay and humus fraction. Especially in soil, we will consider clay and humus fraction under soil colloids. So soil colloids will be considered as a clay and humus factor. So these are the due to this is a very small size and high surface area. So naturally, when there is a when the particles are finely divided, what will happen? The surface area will be increases. So when the surface area increases, the chemical activity will be more. So whenever the chemical activity will be more, the impact on the ecosystem will be very high. So this is regarding the soil colloids. So what you are going to remember in this slide is a two-phase system. It is a two-phase system because soil colloid consists of two-phase systems. One is called the dispersion phase, one medium, and another is called the dispersion medium. Especially clay in water. So what is the dispersion medium? Clay is the dispersion phase, like that. And clouds in atmosphere, liquid and gas. So that water droplets are considered the dispersion phase, and gas is considered the dispersion medium. This is regarding the soil colloids. So what is the particle size of soil colloids? Less than 2 micrometers. Coming as we are dealing with the soil, in soil, clay and humus will be considered the soil colloids. Due to their very small size due to the small size, they have way more surface area. So this leads to the greater chemical activity and will show greater impact on ecosystem. That's what. And coming to the properties, students, what are the properties of soil colloids? As I said, it's very extremely small size and very high surface area. When the size was very small, the surface area will be very big. We know all these things. We are very basic concepts. So now I'm going to ask one typical, very basic fundamental question: whether the surface area of sand is more or surface area of clay is more.
Clay is more.
Clay.
Very good. I think at a time two students were answer. Very good, students. Can you explain why? Anyone can answer.
Clay is a small size particle.
Yes, clay is a small size particle. So what? Clay is a small size particle.
So surface area is more.
Okay, can you elaborate? Can you for understanding? Can you say? For typical.
Clay
For
is
example,
finely divided into several pieces, so surface area increases when compared to sand.
Okay. Okay. Everyone are answering very perfectly. So for understanding, students, if you take a pinch of sand, a pinch of clay, put it in one watch glass. how many particles will be in sand, how many particles will be in clay, in whether clay particles will be more or sand particles will be more.
Clay will be more.
Clay will be more because of very fine nature of the particles. So very small size. So the number of particles will be more. So the number of particles will be more means there will be a very high surface area. Whereas we consider in the sand condition, the particle size are very big when compared with the clay. So naturally, surface is very less. That's why the chemical nature of the sand was very low when compared with the clay. That's why most of the chemical properties are dominant in clay when compared with the sand. So that is regarding the very general. And coming to our concept, in soil colloids also, it is a very small size. And we can see due to the small size of nature, so very high surface area and having charges, very high, predominantly negative charges will be there. High charges will be there. So most of the colloids will have a predominantly negative charges. There will be charges will be there. That charge will be predominantly will be negative charge and absorbs both cations and anions. There is absorption will be there. And this absorption concept will lead to the formation of double layer theory. We will discuss all these things in coming lectures, students. Today we are not going to discuss about this double layer theory, but for the coming lectures we are going to deal about what is the double layer, inner layer, there will be inner anionic layer will be there, and absorbed outer layer cationic layer will be there, the diffusion layer, fixed layer. So many theorems are there. Stirner theorem is there. We will discuss all those things. And also these colloids will absorb water and cause a shrinking and swelling of clay. If that's shrinking and swelling, especially shrinking and swelling of clay, we can see in black cotton soils, especially in very black soils, we can see this type of conditions. So these are the some typical properties of soil colloids. What are this? These are very extremely small, very small, and very high surface area. Having charges, definitely the charge will be negative, predominantly will be negative, absorbs cations and anions, and colloids from, generally these colloids will form an ionic double layer, a fixed layer, diffusion layer, and so on. We have a double layer, the triple layer theory. There are many theorems are there. We will discuss in further lectures. And also absorbs water. And this absorption leads to the causing of shrinking and swelling of clay minerals. So these are the typical properties of clays. Now we will see, students, what is the condition? We will see next. Unit cells. Okay, students. Now overall, now we see what is the condition of colloids. What are the conditions of what is a colloid for some properties of colloids. So after that, we will see what is a unit cell. What is a unit cell, students? This is called unit cell. Small piece of unit. It's a simplet representing unit in a crystal structure. So arrangement of the small unit cells, the small unit cells will form one big unit called lattice unit called, that is called a crystal lattice, representing a space lattice or crystal lattice. It is represents a three-dimensional. See, it is a three-dimensional x, y, z. So we can see it's a three-dimensional. And the basal spacing, student, basal spacing is nothing but lattice point. Lattice point means is nothing but, students, 1 minute. Yeah, lattice point means this one, student. Lattice point. That means the where the atom or ion was fixed in one particular crystal layer, that is called lattice point. The distance between these 2 points is called the basal spacing. This is called the basal spacing. So this basal spacing is plays a major role in our crystal lattice structure. So unit cell, it is nothing but the small representation. It's a simple repeat unit of a crystal unit. So this crystal unit actually, some students may ask, what is the meaning of this A, B, C, and X, Y, Z? So these are the angles. These are the angles. Everything we have already discussed in the previous lectures. Please go through that. Please go through that video which I have uploaded in the YouTube, and also send the link to you. Please go through and follow that, please. Okay. So by arrangement of all these simple unit cells will form one big crystal lattice. Crystalline structure will be formed, and that is called the crystal lattice. So this is the three-dimensional. And many students, this arrangement will be very specific and very fundamental for a very particular, for every layer, for every crystal or every mineral, there will be a different arrangement of this crystal unit arrangement will be different, and that difference will be calculated by our X-ray diffraction studies. And this X-ray diffraction studies we will deal very detailed in further coming classes. We'll deal very perfectly. There is a separate lecture will be there about this X-ray diffraction studies and thermal studies and thermodynamics, etc. There are many things we have to go on to see in the further classes. Now let us see, students, coming to again back to the soil colloids. We can see in colloids how many types are there. You can see crystalline, non-crystalline, iron and aluminum oxides, and organic. So these are called the, what do you call this? What type of colloids are these?
Inorganic.
Yes, inorganic colloids. These are the inorganic colloids. They're all the inorganic. Right? These are the inorganic. What about this? Come on, what about this?
Organic colloids.
Yes, it's
Organic colloid.
an organic colloids. It's an organic colloids. Well, students, so this is regarding the crystalline silicate clays and non-crystalline silicate clays, iron aluminum oxides. So these are, especially in crystalline clays, is nothing but, student, there will be a proper arrangement of lattice structure. You can see proper arrangement of the units will be there. There will be proper arrangement of iron and things. Example for the crystalline structure units are called the kaolinite and mitzite. So these are the best examples of this. And non-crystalline, especially, students, there will be no any proper arrangement of a crystal lattice. You can't see any proper arrangement of units or crystal lattice in this non-crystalline clay. Example for this is allopan and magnolite. So that is, these two are the best example for non-crystalline structure. And coming to another one is called, students, our iron aluminum oxides, especially gypsite and zeolite. So these are the two oxides, colloidals, especially very plays a major role in, especially in the point of agriculture. These colloids are very important in, especially in acid soils. We can see this type of colloids are predominant. And coming to this called organic. So here are actually organic, also organic nature, because it is like all this organic nature completely derived from the decomposed animal and plant, other decomposed matter, everything from there we have derived from this organic colloids. Especially it has a high holding capacity, high nutrient holding capacity. There will be a lot of Cs will be more. That's why, remember, students, whenever you see any problem in the agriculture field, whether it is a salt problem, whether it is an acid problem, whatever the problem, very first line or very first time they will indicate only add organic matter, maintain organic matter. So every agriculturist, every farmer always emphasize, especially I think before green revolution, most of our Indian agriculture is completely depend upon the animal products only. We use only animal excrete and everything. But after, after green revolution, we're completely diverted from our regular orthodox method of agriculture. We came into the more so-called modern agriculture. What happened? We have seen many nutrient deficiency, micronutrient deficiencies. We came across many micronutrient deficiency, and physical properties are deteriorated, everything. But again, what happened? What is the solution? Everyone will turn back to the adding of organic matter and organic residues. That's a different concept we will discuss later on. And coming to the next, students, crystalline silicates. Coming to the crystalline silicates. What is a crystalline silicates? I'm talking about crystalline. Crystalline silicate means arrangement. It has a layer structure with 2 or 4 sheets. See, best example. This is a microscope image, student. This is a electron microscope image of kaolinite. So it has a layer. There will be a layer. In this layer itself, we can see 2 to 4 sheets per layer. Predominantly, there will be only chance of negative charges having, and this will have a very diversified properties. Those particular layers will have a diversified properties, and it has a very layer structures will be there. 2 to 4 layers in the small layer. Take for example this small layer. In this small layer itself, we can say around 2 to 4 sheets. Sir, what is sheets, sir? You will see all this. What are those sheets on all those things? In the small layer, we can see, and predominantly it will be a negative charge. Definitely there will be a negative charge because of imbalance in charge, and this negative charge will give us a very diversified properties in soil. We have a very great diversified properties will be predominant. Now we will see. We will go very in depth about the silicates. This is a silicate structure. This is a silicate structure, student. It will have a proper layer will be there. In that layer, there will be 2 to 4 sheets will be there, and it will have a negative charge and have a very diversified properties. But here in students, in non-crystalline silicates, you cannot find any ordered crystalline structure. You cannot find any ordered structure. But here you can see very proper arrangement of structures. But here you can't see any ordered crystalline structures, and we will have a high amount of both positive and negative charges. You can see both positive and negative charge will be there. High water holding capacity and low stickiness will be there. This example is allopan is your best example for the non-crystalline silicate. You cannot find any crystalline structure. You cannot be, there will be no proper arrangement of ions or atoms in this particular clay, especially allopan. You can't find anything. This is called a non-crystalline or amorphous. You simply can call it amorphous. Example, allopan is the best example. Your non-crystalline silicate. Mostly to have a both positive and negative charge. There is a chances of here and there you can see both positive and negative charge, and high water holding capacity, but will have very low stickiness. Coming to next is final one is called iron aluminum oxides. Best example is your zeolite and gypsite is the best example for your aluminum. Found mostly in highly weathered soils. Highly weathered soils. What is the order for highly weathered soils? Can anyone answer? Which soil comes under highly weathered? Which soil order comes under the?
Oxysols.
Oh, final. Thank you. You are reading. So very good. Oxysols is a highly weathered soil. Order comes under. So maybe crystalline or amorphous. So this maybe these iron elements maybe it will be in crystalline or sometimes it may be amorphous. Will have a low plasticity and stickiness. You will read in physics, students. In physics, you will read what is plasticity and stickiness. The Atterberg's limit, etc. You will go in detail about all those things. So these are the example for the iron aluminum oxide. Geophite and gypsite are the best example for iron and aluminum oxides. Coming to the next, finally our favorite, organic humus. What is a humus? And is the ultimate decomposed product is called humus or humin. It's the smallest of all soil colloids. What we have discussed in the previous. So all a very small soil colloids, maybe up to partly decomposed. It consists of mainly partially decomposed cell walls or biomolecules we can see, and it will have a very high water absorbing capacity. This is very important. High water absorbing capacity. Then these are derived from the decomposed cell walls of the biomolecules. And net charge of the humus always negative. So it is always negative. So net charge will be always a negative fraction. It will be of negative fractions. So this is regarding the organic colloid. But regarding this organic, there is a separate lecture called soil organic matter. In that soil organic matter, we will deal many things. There are what is the classification of organic matter, how many types are there, which one is alkaline dissolved, which one is acid dissolved. So we will deal all those things in further coming lectures. But today's lecture, this one, silicate clays. So silicate clay, students, generally you all know, aware about this. So silicate clays, the arrangement, based on arrangement of the tetrahedra and tetrahedral arrangement, or the fundamental crystal fundamental structure arrangement was divided into 6 types, students. What are those called? Neosilicates. Very first is called nesosilicates. It consists of only separate SiO2 tetrahedra. That is the best example, this one. There will be only separate. This is a fundamental structure of tetrahedra. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. In middle there will be silica. There will be sharing of oxygen atoms, and these corners will be shared by the subsequent structure. That is we will deal all those things. So the best example is very first one, silicate clay is a nesosilicate is an example. We separate SiO tetrahedron will be there. And second one is called sorosilicates. 2 or more linked tetrahedra will be there. Where it is present? Yeah, here. You can see 2 or more linking will be here. You can see there will be a sharing between these 2 tetrahedrons will be there. So SiO2, there are 2 silica hydrides, O7, so 7 oxygens will be there, and 5 charges will charge O5. Here also will be 1 charge will be there, O16. So overall 16 oxygens will be there. So these are the 2 or more linked tetrahedra will be there. And ionosilicates, so ionosilicates single or double chained. Mostly single or double chain. This is a single chain, this is a double chain. This is called the best example for the ionosilicates. And cyclosilicates, yeah, cyclosilicates. This one, you can see there will be arranged. There is a sharing of this cyclosilicate. This is the best example. The structure is best example for your cyclosilicates. This is a cyclosilicates. And phyllosilicates, students, it's a sheet layer. You know, you see there's the sheet layer. In background, you can see one layer will be there. Again up, you can see another layer will be there. It's a 3D structure. The silicate structure will be there in a sheet. That's an example for the phyllosilicates. And tectosilicates is a framework of tectosilicate. Best example. Here you can see there is share. This is the best example for the tectosilicates. It's a framework of tetrahedra. And there will be sharing will be there. This is called the tetrahedra. So overall, students, in silicate clays, we can see 6 types. That is called the nesosilicates, sorosilicates, ionosilicates, cyclosilicates, phyllosilicates, tectosilicates. Students, whoever this is the first class for the students who are attending, please go through my very first video, which is available in YouTube. Link I have shared in your group. Please go and once watch that video. I have given very detailed explanation about this neo, CO, and ionocyclosilicates, about all those things. I hope you will check that. Coming to the next is called a silicate clay crystal. Well, students, this image you can see is the clay particle. This is the clay particle. Inside clay, you can see different layers will be there. Layers. And also there will be 2 surfaces will be there. This is called the external surface. See, this is called the external surface, and in between the 2 layers is called the internal surface. And between this internal surface, you can see many minerals. You can see magnesium, you can see calcium, you can see aluminium, and also you can see some silicate, some chlorine, hydrogen. Here you can see, and exchange will be taken place. Calcium will be exchanged with the magnesium, magnesium will be exchanged with the calcium. This is called the cation exchange. We will deal all these things in further coming lectures, and it's called the internal surface. This is called between these two layers. There is a surface is called internal surface will be the external surface. And remember, student, this is the negatively charged. So so some positive cations are observed here. This form a double layer. It's ion there. You can say double layer, ionic double layer. But these are all diffusing. This is all diffused double layer. It's called double layer theory. We will discuss very detailed in the further coming lectures about all this. So this is called the ionic double layer. So this is regarding the crystal lattice, and also there will be a external surface and internal surface. So this is the overall structure of the silicate crystal layer. Okay, students, I hope you have got this slide. Coming to the next one, basic structural unit of secondary clay minerals. Secondary clay minerals, especially whatever which plays a major role than primary accessory minerals. Primary minerals are original minerals which are present in the rock, and the secondary minerals which are derived from these primary minerals. Accessory minerals which their role is very normal, very small amounts for accessory. Overall, students, in silica tetrahedra, you can see 4 oxygens will be there, and 4 will be sharing, and then in middle you can see and silica, and this angle between silica and oxygen is around 105.5 degrees. And to balance the charge between the silica tetrahedra, there will be sharing of silica tetra. That's why the charge will be Si4. You can see there is a subsequent sharing. So this oxygen, one oxygen will be shared by both the silicon. So that's why there will be a charge balance will be there. So this form the tetrahedral sheet. So by sharing the subsequent oxygens here and there will be a charge balance will be there. So interlinking. So first link with together tetrahedra, so that oxygen ion can share the neighboring silicahedra, and so that one it will reduce the negative charge effect. So initially it will be there will be negative charge, the high negative charge will be there. So to balance that, what will happen? It will be share it oxygen with the subsequent silicate structure and makes the charge neutral. So geometrically responsible, there will be only 4 oxygens will be there, one which one, and another central silica cation will be there, are called touching each other, which I have seen. So there will be 4 oxygens will be there, and 1 silica tetrahedral, 1 silica will be there. So as I said, to attain the silica neutrality, combine with 2 oxygens only. But to attain the geometrical stability, so it will be first to attain geometrical stability, what will happen? This structure of ion combined with 4 oxygen ions, and that resulting in a silica tetrahedra, and which carries -4 net negative charge of 4. So 4 we can see. This is called the silica tetrahedra. So overall, by sharing all those things, there is excess of man, there will be a net negative charge will be there. That's why you can see this will be Si4, but you can see there is a 6 will be there. Definitely there will be a negative charge will be there. So that negative charge will be stabilized by the sharing of subsequent silica tetrahedra and form a silica tetrahedral sheet by sharing. And coming to the next one is called aluminum octahedra. This is another one, especially aluminum octahedra. Remember, students, in actually there are dioctahedra and trioctahedra. Two are there. Two different are there. What is dioctahedra? We'll discuss in the coming slides. So aluminum octahedra is nothing but this is the aluminum octahedral sheet. Instead of oxygens, we can see OH minus ions. Here you can say aluminum or magnesium. Actually, there is a why this aluminum is coming. This is 2 plus, this is 3 plus. Right? This is 3 charge will be there, and that charge 2 plus will be there. So why this happening? Why the substitution happening? We will see in the isomorphous substitution, charge development, the many concepts in there in chemistry. We'll deal all these things in the coming lectures. That's why here also you can see there is sharing. So basic building block of aluminum or magnesium, sometimes sometimes iron. The dominant sheet is a unit composing of aluminum surrounded by the 6 oxygen or hydroxyl groups. You can say maybe sometimes oxygen hydroxyl group, giving 8-sided face building block called octahedra. You can say 8-sided faces you can see. So number of octahedral linked horizontally comprising of octahedral sheet, just like this. This is called the octahedral sheet. There is a combination of this called the octahedral sheet. So these are the two basic building structures. It's called silica tetrahedra. Another one is called the aluminum octahedra. But what is this trioctahedra? What is the difference between trioctahedra and dioctahedra? Well, students, you can see both the charge will be our same, students. Whenever you see, so you can see this is the trioctahedra, because in trioctahedra you can see all the cations are all the areas will be covered, all the octahedra will be covered by the 3 cations. Here one, here magnesium, here magnesium. So naturally, what is the charge of magnesium? 2 plus. So 2 into 3, charge is 6. But here also you can say aluminum is Al3 plus, but charge is 2. Only 2 are there. Here in octahedra, only 2 aluminum octahedras will be there. So the charge will be here also, charge will be 6. Here there is a 2, here there is a 3. That's why this is called the trioctahedra and this is called the dioctahedra. So the octahedral structure will consisting of magnesium is called the trioctahedral, and the octahedral which consisting of the aluminium is called the dioctahedral. Because of this, charge are same, student, charge is 6, but only the high concentration of cations are more here. It is 3, but here it is only 2. Only 2 aluminum, but here you can see 3 magnesiums are there. So this is the difference between the trioctahedral and dioctahedral structures. Overall, students, so we have discussed things, we have discussed about the trioctahedral, octahedral. So by bonding between these two layers, students, by bonding these two layers, you know, we can see a very important these layers or layer silicates are there. Layer silicates are formed. So how many types of layer silicates are there? We know that 1:1 type, that is called the kyanite and halloysite, and 2:1. Best example, montmorillonite, illite, vermiculite, which has some limited type of expansion, especially talc and all those things. And chloride, 2:1 is called chlorides. So these are the three types. So what is the 1:1 type? Any idea? Anybody have idea? What is the 2:1 to 1:1 to 2:1, etc.? Any idea? Any idea? Can anyone?
1:1 is a one tetrahedral sheet and one octahedral sheet of
Okay,
clay.
2:1, no?
Two tetrahedral, one octahedral.
Okay, two tetrahedral. So octahedral was sandwiched between the two tetrahedral, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is a 2:2 type of silicate?
Two
clay?
tetrahedral sheet and two octahedral sheet.
Yeah, two tetrahedral, two octahedral sheet will be there. So anyhow, these are the basic things, students. We will see all those things, and be confident in that. So very first, for 1:1, as we said, it is an example. Best example is kyanite. Here you can see one silica tetrahedron, one aluminum octahedron. Remember, students, observe very carefully. Both octahedron, silica tetrahedron sharing a common oxygen. You see, sharing a common, these red color balls are the oxygen. So the tip oxygens are completely shared by this aluminum octahedra and silica tetrahedra. So by sharing this makes the layer lattice will be very stable and strong. And these two, this is a one layer lattice. One layer is there. This is one layer, and this layer is again joined with similar type of layer with one type of bond called hydrogen bonding. There will be one type of hydrogen bonding. Due to this nature of bonding, what you can see, there is no chance of expansion here. There is a non-expanding type. This is a 1:1 non-expanding type because of hydrogen bonding. So by staking these aluminum and silica hydride sheets, it is called the 1:1 type of structure. So mostly these are, especially these oxygens are completely shared between the silica tetrahedra and aluminum octahedra, and in between this you can see some hydrogens will be, hydrogen bonding will be there. Due to this hydrogen bonding, you cannot expect, and there is no scope of expansion or something will be there. That's why it is a non-expanding type. Best example of non-expanding is kyanite type of clay mineral. Another type is called montmorillonite. Yeah, montmorillonite 2:1 type. See here, one octahedra. This is octahedral structure, students. Remember, this is the octahedral structure, and this is tetrahedral structure. No. So as I said, same. It was shared by the oxygens of the both are common oxygens were shared between the octahedron, aluminum octahedron, silicon tetrahedra, and also this is a one layer lattice. And these two layer lattice are there will be some gap will be there, and in between you can see some water molecules will be entered. That's why here we can see some expansion, and also there will be some bonding also will be there, oxygen bonding, but very weak oxygen bonding will be there. So whenever you can say moisture, whenever the field was moisture, it will be expanded. Whenever the field was dry condition, summer came, it will be dry, so contraction will be there. That's why you can see that this montmorillonite type of a clay mineral has a nature called expanding type of clay mineral. So, and also you can see both isomorphous substitutions and all those things. Due to the isomorphous substitution, what will happen, students? Sometimes the silica tetrahedra will be replaced by the aluminum octahedra will be replaced by the magnesium. What will happen? There is a net range of net negative charges very more. So naturally negative charges very more means what will happen? This cation exchange capacity will be increased, and we will deal all these things. What is isomorphous substitution? Actually, there are two types of charges there. One is pH dependent charge, and one is a that is a temporary charge, a permanent charge, if I want to say very technical. Anyhow, we will discuss all those things in coming lectures. So this is the best example for the 2:1 that is called montmorillonite type of clay mineral. Another one, students. What is that? 2:1. non-expanding type of crystal. It's called the hydrous mica. It is a quite similar, students. Just it have the same properties like Montemorillette. Same, you can see the sandwiching of octahedra between two tetrahedrals. We can see, and also the tetrahedral sheet consisting of 2% of silica. It's completely sometimes substituted by the aluminium, but we can see but the net negative charge is completely satisfied with the potassium. That's why due to the satisfaction of this potassium between these two layers, it is unable to expand. So it is called comes under the non-expanding type. So illite comes under the non-expanding type. But most of the properties of the illite will be quite similar between in between the Kyle-Net and Montemorillette. The properties between the Kyle-Net and Montemorillette will be illite. Very typical conditions, students. The 2:1 type of illite conditions. And another one is called the 2:1, 2:2 clay mineral, or 2:1:1 type of clay mineral. So basically, it is iron magnesium silicates with sometimes you can see presence of aluminum also will be there. So it has a 2:1 type of layers, like other alternate with magnesium dominant in the trioctahedral sheet, giving rise to 2:1. Especially you can see here the tetrahedra, octahedra, tetrahedra. But in between you can see another type of layer. Okay, so this due to the presence of this layer is called the 2:1:1. This is called aluminum octahedral. See, you can see some octahedral layer will be there. So magnesium also dominated. Sometimes magnesium will be dominated. This comes in trioctahedral conditions will be there in octahedral sheet. So that's the crystal unit consisting of what will happen. So ultimately, this crystal unit consisting of 2 crystalline tetrahedral sheet and 2 magnesium octahedral sheets. So that's why due to this, it is a non-expanded type, students, with size and negative charge similar to that of illite type. So this is also non-expanding type. You can see here, you can see some octahedral which magnesium is dominated. Here also you can see. That's why you can see two silica tetrahedrals we can see, and 2 magnesium octahedral. Sometimes aluminum octahedral will be there. That is the condition. This is the condition prevailing in the chloride conditions will be there. And mostly this is a non-expanding type. Chlorides are mostly found mixed with the Montemorillette and vermiculite. Mostly these chlorides are completely mixture. It will be comes under mixture of Montemorillette and vermiculite conditions will be there. So this is the best example. Chloride is example for the 2:1:1 type of clay minerals. And also these are the typical properties, students, which I already explained. And also I'm forgetting to the in between sometimes there is a chance of brucite and gypsite layer present in between the two sheets. So brucite layer is completely dominated with the magnesium, and gypsite layer is completely dominated with aluminium. So this is the thing. Please remember, students, in exam they may ask brucite and gypsite. Remember those words. I forgot to add in a slide. And these are the comparison between the properties of Kyle-Net and magnesium. That is a 1:1, 2:1 expanding type, and 2:1 non-expanding type. These are typical examples. This is the isomorphous substitution, very important property. This is completely pH dependent in Kyle-Net. Here you can see octahedral conditions, the tetrahedral conditions, 1:1 there, and C is 2:5. But here in Montemorillette, very high, 80 to 120 will be there. Here you can see oxygen bonding will be there. It is hydrogen bonding will be there. Cohesion, plasticity, swelling and shrinking, we can see it is these properties are very low here, but here it is very high. Students, please note down this table. This one table will give at least 1 mark. There is a chance of getting 1 mark. There is a chance of getting 1 mark. So please focus on this table and remember these properties and make foundation very great. With this, students, I'm ending this lecture. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for kind patience. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Thank you, students. If you have any questions, you can ask now. It's a time for discussion.